Good morning. Happy Easter. Christ is risen. I'm so happy to see everybody on Easter morning. And I wanted to greet everyone in the name of the Lord. I thought we would start this morning, since this is a joyous celebration, with some jokes. So I have to make sure I get these right. Now, if the kids are with you, and you have some Easter jokes, would you please send those to me, because we'll put them in a special Easter edition of the newsletter. And so if there's something your kids like, please send those to me. So here's our first joke. What kind of bean cannot grow in a garden? Does anybody know that one? That would be a jelly bean. What is the Easter Bunny's favorite kind of music? Think about this. It's a bunny. It's hip hop. What did the egg say when the Easter Bunny told a joke? Does anybody know that one? You crack me up. All right. Well, please send your jokes. And remember to send in your family pictures. If you are all dressed up today, that's great. You can send your dress up picture. But if you're casual, please send your casual picture. Those will also be in our special Easter newsletter. If you're in your pajamas, we will also accept your pajama picture. That'll be fine. This is the best day of our church year. Easter is the reason we are a church. Everything changed for us as a result of this Sunday. This is the reason that we are together. So I want to read Matthew 28, 1 through 10, so that we can recount what happened on this day. Matthew 28, 1 through 10. After the Sabbath, at dawn on the first day of the week, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary went to see the tomb. Now there was a massive earthquake, because an angel of the Lord came down from heaven, and going to the tomb, the angel rolled back the stone and sat on top of it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothes were white like snow. Out of sheer terror, the guards there shook and looked like dead men. The angel turned and said to the women, "Do not be afraid. I know you are looking for Jesus, who was crucified. He is not here. He is risen, just as he said. Come and see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell his disciples, he has risen from the dead and is going ahead of you into Galilee. There you will see him. Now I have told you." So the women hurried away from the tomb, afraid yet filled with joy, and ran to tell his disciples. Suddenly Jesus met them. "Rejoice," he said. They came to him, clasped his feet, and worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, "Do not be afraid. Go and tell my brothers to go to Galilee. There they will see me." Just like that, the women that morning, everything for them had changed. Usually for us on Easter morning, we're pulled in 6 different directions. We're preparing for this big celebration. We're cooking, or we're preparing for guests, or we're getting ready to spend the day away from home. It's a true holiday. So most of us were not expecting to have this quiet day for Easter. And so that has made it an emotional day for us. We're being separated for the most part from family members, and we did not plan for it to be that way. We didn't really want it to be like this today. So we do have some empathy for Mary Magdalene and for the other Mary, and for all the disciples on the original weekend leading up to what we now call Easter. They were still crushed by the crucifixion that they had witnessed. They were still unhappy about their separation from Jesus. Mary and her friends were venturing out on that early morning dawn, and they were unable to stop replaying in their mind that chain reaction of events that had led up from Thursday on. They had seen Judas' betrayal, the arrest in the garden, the rushed judgment on these trumped up blasphemy charges. They saw Jesus hustled over to Herod and then sent to Pilate. They saw the mob turn on him. They saw this train wreck of angry, envious, evil people determined to bring another prophet down, although this time it would be God's own son, the Messiah. They saw this group ready to kill him. They were hurtling God incarnate toward death, believing that by death they could maintain power and control. But on that Sunday morning, everything changed. Now, maybe you've been to the ocean on vacation, and at some point you've watched the tide go out. You've walked on the beach. You've witnessed all the water seemingly disappear from between rocks and nooks and crannies as the water rushes out. And for a while, it's as if the water never existed. On the face of it, it's as if life itself was pulled away, sucked out, as if it vanished by some inexplicable force that we can't control or change or intervene into. If we didn't know better, we'd wonder if all of that tidal life might be gone forever, if it's disappeared. But then what happens? Suddenly, the tide rushes back and renews life into all those little nooks and crannies, into every little pool, onto the beach, across the shoreline, at the appointed time, in a kind of chain reaction, one that we have come to expect, but it still causes us to marvel and delight in it. We see right in front of our eyes life replenished, life renewed. And for the women that day, a new chain reaction occurred. A new tide rushed in. It was unexpected. Just when all the life had pulled away, gotten sucked out from the world by a force that none of us can comprehend or control or intervene into, when we too would have feared that Jesus might be gone forever and that this evil chain reaction was successful, that death had taken him away. Well, right then, life rushed back in. The women approached the tomb, and the way Matthew learned the story, God's own messenger, the angel whose appearance terrified everybody there, the angel rolled the stone away himself so that the women could see and verify that the tomb was empty. The tide in this case was literally turning. The angel had one purpose: to give a message of hope and joy and life. And that message today is for us. Jesus has risen just like he said. Go and tell the disciples. So where there had been heartache, now the women had hope. And verse 8 says, so the women hurried away from the tomb, afraid, yet filled with joy, and ran to tell the disciples. Sure, they were still afraid, but they were joyful too. Have you ever felt both these things at the same time? When the tide is turning, I think that's the case. I got news today from the person who asked for prayer anonymously for fear due to suspected COVID-19 that the sick family member is recovered as of today. They're so grateful for our prayers. Maybe we are still a little fearful of what may come to pass with the course of this virus. But we are joyful as well. Our prayers are answered. Our people can return to health. Reverend Edward Beck, as interviewed on TV, was discussing how stressful COVID funerals are. And yet he told the story of a much-loved elderly woman whose family had to watch her graveside service virtually. And right in the point of the service When it was time for holy water to be sprinkled on her casket, it began to sprinkle rain. So as he officiated, also from a screen, he gave thanks for her life's impact, love conquering death, and for the provision of holy water when none was expected. And he proclaimed that Jesus still speaks to us. Don't be afraid. Love is stronger than death. The tide has turned. Love has come rushing back in. The women met that love in their haste to carry the angel's message back to the disciples. Jesus met them himself on the road, and he said, "Don't be afraid. I'm alive." Jesus spent time with Mary and the other Mary right away. New life was flowing back into the world, and nothing would be able to stop that. When we're afraid, Jesus meets with us, takes time with us, shares our joy, shares our fears, helps us realize that love will always be stronger than death. Today we celebrate that new life flowing back into the world like a tidal wave, love that will always be strong within us and around us, stronger than any separation, more powerful than any man-made chain reaction. Love conquers all. Jesus lives for us all, within us, so that we can live for all. Christ is risen. Amen.